yeah, it's just one of those. I just struggled with it, but there we go. I'm sure I'll pick it. I'm sure I'll pick it back up again at some point. But going away for another week or so, I don't know. It's just you got to spend a lot of time, haven't you, when you play those games and on keeping on top of them and playing them. And sometimes when things are just busy in your life, you just think you can't do that. So you can't commit to it.
So now let me put you on the spot a little bit, because I mean you've been a big proponent of, you love these big
I do,
games.
Yeah, I do.
Is this maybe a turning of the tide in terms of how you feel about that, and that you might like some of these shorter experiences now?
I don't know. I mean, I'm up for playing like things where I can get shorter experiences, but I do like the larger games where you have to invest a lot of time into it. It's just that I've got a lot going on with work and sorting stuff out, where I've just not got the time to really invest into it.
What are you going to do when you only have 30 minutes on your boat?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping not to have that, not just to have 30 minutes. I think we'll have longer nights. We've obviously got to be parked up earlier, and we'll have longer nights, and there'll be hopefully a lot more leisure time. I don't know. I just don't know.
I think you need to buy yourself a little portable solar generator that's just for your Xbox or your PlayStation.
I've got solar panels on there. There's 4 panels on the boat. So, and I'm not going into the boat again. There's 4 panels. But anyway, yeah. I also play God of War, and I also played with my son because he's crazy on Roblox, isn't he? I'll keep talking about it all the time. But there was a server on there called Shovelware's Brain Game. It's a funky little cartoon, almost like a Cuphead style artwork, but a little bit more. A little bit more simple, but it's just like a quiz game that you could play on Roblox, and like I say, the server's called Shovelware's Brain Game, and you just answer questions. And that's
is it just random? Like, is there a theme to it, or is it just random questions?
Well, it is. It's just you could pick the categories. Each contestant who comes on, who's a player, obviously on the server, can come along and join at any time. And they end up being a contestant. So there's this banana that comes onto who's your host, and he comes onto the main stage and hosts all of this show. It's just like this real cheesy quiz show, and the sound starts to annoy you after some time, because the classic Roblox, they don't actually say anything. It's just all that type of talk, and it just goes on and on. Or like what's that? I can't remember that crazy hard game that everybody plays. God. Anyway, forget it. Talking shit. So there's this quiz show, and you just answer questions. You're taking turns in picking the category and answer questions. So we won the quiz twice, actually, and there's it was really cool. Me and my son played that this weekend. So yeah.
That's I'm disappointed, Pete, because I'm not getting pizza apparently. That sucks.
Nope. Damn it.
I nearly killed the podcast for the love of pizza. Just when Greg was talking about his mum and dad getting a pizza, and I thought, Frig, I'll order a pizza and it'll be delivered right now. And and it wouldn't accept I'm from here, so I switched the VPN on. So I'm sorry that we had a hiccup of video there. The audio wasn't affected. No pizza. Sorry.
I'm just sorry you couldn't order the pizza.
Yeah, damn it.
Of course, you probably were going to order something disgusting for me, which I could appreciate. But
tuna fish and banana.
Brilliant. God,
that was a thing in the UK. There used to be you had the golden pages. Over here we had the yellow pages, and there was an advert for it, and there was this pregnant couple. Well, sorry, the man had to suffer the pregnancy, and she demanded the pizza that she wanted, and it was tuna fish and banana. And for a long time, local pizza places in the UK served tuna fish and banana pizzas, and it was actually quite good. It was like sweet.
No.
Get you lots of mushrooms, will we, Greg?
Nope.
Lots of fungus.
I'll take the pineapple. I know. Nick is trying to say kibosh on mushroom pineapple. pineapple and pepperoni. Now we're talking. All right, let's get to the news. Okay. We got some news, a little bit of news to talk about.
Here is the fucking news.
The Sony PSVR 2 headset is off to a slow start as the metaverse push sputters. Sputters? Should not that be
I like
splutters
better.
Splutters.
Maybe we should make that a word. Splutters.
Bloomberg reports that, according to the IDC, Sony will likely have sold around 270,000 units by the end of March. IDC's Vice President of Data and Analytics, Francisco Geronimo, class, told the publication, "I suspect a price cut on the PSVR 2 will be needed to avoid a complete disaster of a new product." He also explained consumers around the world are facing rising costs of living. No, fake news. Rising interest rates. Nah, fake news. Everything's okay. Increasing layoffs. Nah, fake news. Where's my ice cream? VR headsets are not the top of the mind for most consumers under the current economic climate. Where is my wife, the doctor? Where everything's okay. None to see here.
Hey, so on this, it was reported that supposedly Sony originally had like a 2 million unit goal by the first month. But then some people were debating that, saying that might have been 2 million in the first year. And I thought, wow, 2 million units in a year, that seems really low. But the original PSVR took 14 months to get to 2 million units. So I suppose it's possible 2 million was their goal for the year. But I just find that number to be a little low, considering the investment, the R&D that they'd have to pump into something like this.
The amount of cable that they have.
There is a this whole price cut thing. People think that definitely is going to happen. I think it makes sense in the current climate. And look. There is the argument. People are like, oh, well, you have to buy the PS5 and the PSVR 2, and therefore it's $1,000+ And I'm like, you know what? You can't throw that argument out there. It's a $500 peripheral. I'll accept that as being the argument for it being too expensive, but don't try and lump in, well, you have to have a PS5. You have to have a PC to be able to run VR as well. So, that argument falls on deaf ears for me.
Pardon?
Just like someone saying pineapple doesn't belong on pizza, falls on deaf ears. Absolutely wrong. On the right scenario, pineapple belongs on pizza.
Of course,
just like
does.
PSVR 2 can belong in a PS5. Let's move on to the next story, Robin.
Biggest mushroom pizza ever, and slay it all over the room. Just I'm gonna fall asleep with my head on the pizza. Wake up with mushrooms all over me. I'm gonna look like one of those things from that video game. What is it called? The Last of Me? Yeah, I'll be like one of those. Far better on YouTube. PS5, contradictory, set a new US record for PlayStation console sales in the month of February. That's according to Matt Piscatella, Executive Director and Video Game Industry Analyst at Circana. In the company's latest monthly sales report, which was published on Wednesday, Piscatella noted that the PS5 has topped US hardware rankings in terms of both units sold and dollars generated since the start of the year. I would say those numbers are actually pretty thin on the skin. You could celebrate that they sold 150 this year.
Well, I thought they said that this was February was a record month.
Record
for them,
high for any
March.
PlayStation system in the month of February. Okay, well,
yeah. I mean, they're doing well, and I think part of this is that they solved their hardware issue, that they actually have systems on the shelves now.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's been released for what, 2.5 years, and now it's available, and they've pushed it so hard. I mean, the hype's big, isn't it? And there's video billboards all the way around Birmingham at the minute saying that the PlayStation is now available. Well, right. I think after all that effort, surely to Christ, there should be an increase in sales and maybe a record high. But God, that just makes me sick. Yeah, it's been so difficult for people to get it as consumers and who are like real big fans of PlayStations. And I was kind of one of the lucky ones, and I wasn't even one of the hardcore fans. And it is a great system, but for it not to be available, it must be really frustrating for the hardcore fans out there. But
well, and the irony is the Xbox, who had solved that problem early on, now the Series X apparently is hard to find on store shelves. You can find the Series S everywhere, but the Series X is like non-existent because I think Microsoft has been putting all of those systems into their cloud. So I think they've been taking a big portion of that and investing it back into their cloud servers. So.
Do you know off the top of your head what the Xbox Series S sales have been like compared to the X? Or
I don't.
I know you like your facts and figures, don't you? Usually, so I thought you might have looked into that one.
I think they're at a pretty close 1-to-1 ratio. Early on, the Series X was definitely dominating. It was the system seller, so to speak, but I think the S is caught up because of price point and this lack of availability.
Oh, right, okay. Because it is bloody good, that Series S. It is. Yeah. Apart from it being really, really small and going as hot as the sun, it's really
space heater, Pete. Space heater.
Well, I'm hoping it's not gonna. Well, it could heat the boat, and I'm hoping that it's not going to use that much energy, so I could use.
You don't have to run the furnace.
Yeah. So, fingers crossed. But
speaking of things that are depressing, Robin, what's going on with E3?
Well, sadly, it sounds like it's unless I do it myself, it's never going to happen. Almost a year after announcing its return, the Entertainment Software Association announced today to its members that this year's E3 has been cancelled. Two sources have confirmed that the organisation announced the cancellation was sent to its members today. It said it remains a beloved event and that the 2023 version simply did not garnish the sustained interest necessarily to execute people in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of our industry.
If they did execute people at the show, I bet they would be well attended.
Gee, that would be good. Yeah. So, so it's not. This was a difficult decision because of all the effort we and our partners put towards making this event happen. But we had to do what's right for our wallets industry. And what's right for E3? We appreciate and understand that interested companies wouldn't have playable demos ready and that resourcing challenges made being at E3 this summer an obstacle that they couldn't overcome. For those who did commit to E3 2023, we're sorry we can't put on the showcase for you deserve and that you've come to expect from ReedPop's events experiences. And anybody that has bought tickets, I'm sorry, you're not getting a refund. That's really, really sad. I mean, if we think what we have in the UK here, I mean, we have what's it called? Damn, EGX. So EGX, nothing is ever really announced at EGX. Some very, very small tiddly bits of news, but really EGX is fan service, and all the big companies generally go, and games that have maybe been out 6 months, but they're there, and the fans love it, and there's lots of merch and panels and games industry people, and that's packed to the hilt. And I hope that E3 will come back, maybe not as the news spectacle, because the internet has now been the place to launch things cheaply.
Well,
and I hope it comes back as fan fest.
EGX and PAX, I think, are very similar shows. And so I think that's the problem for E3 is that the show that, kind of we've attended, the EGX, we have that version in the US already, and that's PAX, PAX East, PAX West. That's that show. And so, E3 is I think, the challenge obviously is we don't, as an industry, necessarily need a show dedicated for the industry insiders. And that's what E3 was. E3 traditionally was always, a press event only. And only in the last few years, when they were really struggling, they tried to create it to be this more open to the public event, because the realization was we didn't need a press-only event anymore. I don't know E3 comes back. I think it is potentially dead for good. And it makes me sad because I went to E3, I experienced it firsthand, and it was awesome. It was just a very different show. I mean, very different from EGX. You had this wonderment to it. and you saw so many games out on the floor, and they were new, they were coming up, they hadn't been released yet, and that was the real difference. Like at EGX, we had a couple that we saw. I still never forget that was the Avengers that we sat in on, and then it was oh god, there was the big hype game, Bridges.
Yeah,
help me out.
Avengers. Yeah.
There's the one with Daryl, wasn't there, from Walking Dead? What was that one? Death Stranding.
Yes, Death Stranding. We sat in on Death Stranding, and I remember that was a very comical sit-in. But you didn't have a ton of new games, like you were saying, Robin. It was mostly about getting together. There was merchandise. It was the social aspect. That's what makes EGX really stand out. I think that's what PAX is all about. Unfortunately, E3, because of the way it was designed and because of its era, it was about media. It was about getting media in, and it was about showing new games nobody knew about. And I just think that, unfortunately, publishers, and I think this is all on the Microsoft, Sony's, Nintendos of the world. Their lack of support's what's killed E3.
Mm-hmm.
I do strongly feel they have an obligation to support this show as a industry show, but I don't think they're going to do it. And I think they're going to let Jeff Keighley take that mantle and do his awards show, and that will be the industry show moving forward.
But don't you think that these organisations are put under pressure to deliver it within a certain time frame? When I think that they could just deliver it in their own time, creating their own show, and delivering the results that they want to, and giving a demo to a game that actually is going to work, Cyberpunk. But like, it's just like there's they're under all this pressure, aren't they, to push it out there for this big event, and it's got to be a cost. It's going to be a cost saving exercise for the organizations as well.
I mean, Pete, everything you just said absolutely makes sense. I agree with it. And the only counter I will say, and it's not a legitimate counter. It's one as a fan. It's that the good thing about E3 was it was a date and time that pretty much you could count on. Every year in June, first, like second or third week of June, you had E3.
Yeah.
It was clockwork. Right. And you could count on Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and all the other publishers having some kind of presence and showing us all some games at that point in time.
Who won E3?
Now it's a crapshoot. Tell me when Sony's next event is. We don't know. We don't know when Nintendo's next event is. We know Microsoft's event only because they had kind of committed to this, but it's that unknown. And while I get it's advantageous to these publishers and these companies to do it that way, because obviously they can do it at their own leisure, it's more cost effective. As a fan, it sucks not knowing when you're going to hear about the next games coming out, that you're having to kind of this guessing game of when are they going to do it? When are they going to do it?
Well, yeah, there is that, but you're also promised then a console that's going to be released at a certain date at a certain time, and you can't even get it for 2 years. Again, I'm going back to the PlayStation, but what as a consumer, for someone to say to me, this is going to be available. Cyberpunk was exactly the same. It was a day one purchase for me, and I've still not even played the game. I can't be arsed now. And the thing is, I hate being missold or just being fed a load of bullcrap. And I feel as though this now at the moment is a platform to do that. And because of the pressure that they're under, whether it's parts, whether it's money, whether it's development, whatever it is, staffing, whatever, it's if they're not going to deliver the product, then as a consumer, I'm going to be really pissed. And I get it. It's one date when everybody can get together and they can watch all of these people. But at the same time, if you've got, like a lot of people have, if you've got a Switch, if you've got an Xbox, if you've got a PlayStation, potentially you've got 3 shows across the year that are going to come up at any time, and it's going to be something for us to talk about more so across the shows. I don't know. You got to look at it both ways, I suppose. I get absolutely. It, but I just hate being just missold something, and I feel as though that this is what E3 has done for me. Whenever I've watched, and I'm not a big fan like you of it, but when I've watched it, I just feel like, oh, it's just all talk, isn't it?
For me, it was. I mean, certainly there's a lot of talk. I always looked at it as kind of like a roadmap, though, just kind of things to look forward to.
Yeah,
you knew a lot of it was, especially back in the early days, a lot of it were, these bull shots, these CGI graphics. I mean, the infamous Killzone. Killzone. They showed it. It was completely CGI, but they sold it as in game. And then it comes out and it's like, this looks nothing like what you promised. There was the infamous game. Oh God, it was the space simulation game where everything was randomly generated. And they made all these videos with like Barney dinosaurs and stuff on it. They were like hamming on it because it again completely did not hit the mark when it launched. Now, and Sean Murray was the guy behind it, and I'm failing to remember the name of the game.
Yeah, the dinosaur and the
yes, No Man's Sky. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it came out to a wet thud because people were like, this was way overrepresented. So that happens, and
yeah, but I think we're talking about two different things here.
Happen.
I mean, we're talking about industry announcements, and that's never going to happen again. That's not, and that part of E3 is lost because of how good the internet is now, and because of the
that's true.
How cheap it is to people, sit on a set, where they go, launch, done. I'm talking about the fans that miss out from E3 because it was a thing, a festival.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, over the last years, it had lost its industry thump as far as announcements was concerned, as the internet and these launches became more and more thing. When Xbox did their own thing separately in a different theater, nothing to do with the main building of E3. That was the end of it all. But I think it's the fan fest, all the people arriving to wherever, Moscone Center in San Francisco or in Las Vegas or wherever it might have been. That's where that's the bit that's missing, and that EGX thing, that people getting together and then celebrating games. I think that's what I see E3 about. So anyway, there you go. That's that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Kim, any thoughts?
No, I'm like you. I'm not surprised because, like you said, with Xbox and PlayStation and a bunch of others pulling out of it and doing their own thing, I think they've effectively killed it because, they can't pull those big names in there to do this now. So because they're all doing their own thing. So.
I mean, and the costs are horrendous. I mean, I was at that trade show this week, and we had a small presence at it, and I paid €6,000 just to be there for a 3-hour show. And there was one lady that I mentioned in the drink that I was drinking, the syrup. They had 4 bottles of syrup on show, and they were charged €10,000 to be there for the day.
Ouch.
For 3 hours. Now, they say, well, yes, our sales will be over 1 million this year, and when we have to do this to get that. But, for somebody that's involved in trade shows, not my budgets for a trade show of a decent size is 50,000-60,000 quid, and that's, I can imagine some of the stands that we go to, even at EGX, are into hundreds of thousands. So, that's a lot of money. So anyway,
yeah,
but it's. I mean, I've not got any experience in your industry whatsoever, Robin. But I'd imagine the footfall and the audience that are coming to those type of events that you go to are all there to see the product, but us taste it at the same time. Where in the industry I work in with education conferences, a lot of it can be delivered online, and the sign up now for people coming to conferences and to turn up to events is just dropping like crazy.
It's crap.
And it's not
crap. Just
this city. I'm talking about London and other big cities in and around the country, and venues are shutting now each and every month, and it's purely because that they can get this education and information now through a hybrid connection, and they don't need to taste that product, and they can see it physically through the literature that they receive from about the course or about the conference, and they can experience it just the same from their own chair at a minimal cost and without having to disrupt their life too much. And I think that's the big turning point from from what happened with COVID, and that people are adapting to how they deliver education and conferences. And it's really sad to see, but it's great to see at the same time that your industry is doing great. It's thriving from it because people still need to get out there and taste those.
I just don't want anybody to miss the opportunity of seeing a middle-aged naked man running around a Airbnb in the future. So,
hey, we'll never get away from that.
Yeah.
We'll never get away from that.
So we're talking E3, and you know, so Pete, to your point, I think actually you raise a very valid point that E3 in what it is today versus what it was when E3 first came into existence. E3 was it was a private media event that buyers from Walmarts, the Targets, they would come to the show, see the upcoming games that were going to be coming, and they would place their orders. They were literally buying and placing orders for video games based off the show. Yeah. It evolved into more of a press event over the years, and so press people were coming in and they were getting a preview of the games as well as the buyers. But then as it evolved, the internet evolved further, and suddenly we were able to stream and broadcast these events. It was really no longer needed for buyers to show up to the events. It was no longer needed for really even the press to show up to the events. So it had to either pivot to a show like Robin was talking about, being more of an EGX pivot, or unfortunately go the way it's gone. And I just don't. They never were able to successfully pivot. They were never able to make that turn. And so, I mean, E3, as it was originally created, is completely not needed anymore. So. Yep. The original vision of that show is obsolete. So what do? And they tried as best they could. And for a while it was successful, but the writing was on the wall. Unless they could make it a fan show, it was never, it was never going to succeed. I'm going to be really curious to see what happens with Gamescom. I think that's the next one potentially to fall here, because that is another big industry show. But I feel like that's a lot of fan service as well. So my hope is that will survive, and that they will still be attended by these publishers. That's the thing. How impactful is not having a Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo at Gamescom? I don't think it's as impactful. Versus, obviously, at E3, it was huge. So
there you go.
Yeah, good chat.
Thank you very much. Love it.
All right, so that does it for the news. Kim, we've got some new releases coming out.
Yes, we do. Alrighty, your new releases for April 2nd through April 8th are Creed: Rise to Glory Championship Edition for PlayStation VR 2, April 4th. Not sure that'll be one. Well, it might be one that'll bring him to it. Who knows? Grim Grimoire Once More for the PS5, PS4, and Switch, April 4th. Hogwarts Legacy for the PS4 and Xbox One, April 4th. Meet Your Maker, which is also a PS Plus game for the month, is on the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on the 4th as well. A lot of things coming out on the 4th. Road 96 Mile Zero for the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on the 4th. And then we have Batora Lost Haven for the Switch on April 6th. No idea what that's about. Curse of the Sea Rats for the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, April 6th. Everspace 2 for the PC on April 6th. And last but not least, one I'm very excited for, and I'm sure you all are as well, is Paparazzi for the Switch on April 6th.
Game of the year.
There you go. Those are your new releases.
Reminds me of pizza.
Good stuff. We're gonna kind of start wrapping the show up. Wednesdays, still playing the Halos on the Wednesdays. If anybody wants to join, hit me up. And Friday nights has been kind of a grab bag of late. So if you see one of us online, just give us
grab our bag.
Yep.
Well, you know.
Yeah. All right. Shout outs. Pete.
Whoa, you caught me then. I wasn't expecting you to say me first.
Didn't expect the Spanish Inquisition.
Expect
Yes,
the unexpected.
I don't know. I'm going to hand you over to Kim. I think. Do you know what? I'm going to shout out myself for holding it together for my trip Tuesday. I don't know. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping that I can still be on the boat just for being on the podcast and talking to you on Sunday from there and see how it is internet connection wise. But I don't know. I've got no one to shout out. Kim.
Shouting out the boat.
Hopefully there's no Amish kids around it. Anyway, I'm going to shout out our shatters. We've had Harley Dan, Boomer, Amaryllis, our friend Nick, and CP Matthews all been in the chat. Plus there's a couple other, Dable Bobs in there that are really aggravating me. But anyway, yeah, so despite all that, thanks y'all for stopping by the chat and keeping it interesting. It's always nice when people stop by. Otherwise, shout out to Mother Nature. Hopefully this week we are calmer, but it's spring, so who knows? Maybe not. And like Greg said, we've got our gaming things, and like I said, I'm off this week, so maybe I can get in on some of those. Maybe I can even start one or two. So we'll see. Other than that, hopefully everybody has a good week, and I'll pass you over to Robin.
Happy Easter, everybody. It's the start of the Easter holidays for the kids. They're all off now for 2 weeks. So, get a few days off next weekend. Looking forward to that. Thanks very much, you guys. Thanks to all the people who are in the chat. And the people that come into chats, please be nice. We're nice. And good luck to everybody for the start of season 10 ACC Competizione LFM Coach Dave Sprint Series. Check me out at Bongo's Bits, Robin Tate on YouTube. That's it.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Pregnant pause. Shout out to the three of you. Thank you for making the podcast. As always, a pleasure speaking with you guys.
Yes,
I thought it was a good chat today. We had some fun. Got a shot. I am hoping the Easter rabbit ears come back for Halo. We have a plan in place. It'll be Team Bunny Ears, inspired by Martin. So we're shooting for that. Shout out to my desk. Cross your fingers. It's not a shout out to anything. It's just cross your fingers. Hopefully it comes through. Again, by end of night tonight, you will know whether or not I was successful in making this work for me. And okay, I gotta shout out my neighbor, and this isn't really a shout out; it's just shout at. So I mowed the lawn last week, and and neighbors, I don't know how you guys have your yard set up out in the UK, but for the most part, we have like shared lawn area where it's like your lawns are kind of butting up to one another, and you have a property line that you kind of know. This is mine. This is yours. No big deal. And when I mow the lawn, I kind of go a little over my property line just to, just keep things tidy, whatever. And so I mowed the lawn. And then 2 days later, because my neighbor hadn't mowed their lawn yet, I see they like obliterated their front lawn on the one side of the house. And then on the shared lawn side where our house is, they mowed like half the lawn, but it was weird. I think they were using like a weed whacker because it was like an arc shape and it just stopped. And they didn't do the entire, it was like, you think of like a 20 by 20 square patch of lawn, and half of it is like an arch cut out where they've just cut it to almost the ground. And then the other half is just left long. Suddenly they got distracted midway through. And then literally, they never went back and fixed it.
Is that on their side of? Is that on their side of the land?
Yeah, it's on their side. So I just look at it every day, and I'm like, "What the fuck? Fix it!" So
it's starting to turn into an old dad.
Oh
Don't
my God! Yes,
look out
100%.
the window and look at the garden. Just forget about it. Let him get on with it.
It's easy to forget about because it is out of sight, out of mind until I get in the car and leave. And then I stare at it every time, and I'm like, "What?" But I want to know what happened. Why is it they stopped halfway through, and it wasn't even like they completed a pass. It's like halfway through the pass, they like arced and stopped. So
just leave a note, and wait for that. Wait for the feedback or something. Just don't worry about it.
They're renters. I know they don't care.
Oh God, he's such a snob.
I know. I'm half joking, but it is one of those mysteries in my head. I kid you not. Every time I look at it, I'm just like, I want to know what happened. And of course, I have yet to see them in daylight, so I haven't been able to ask them. To your point, Pete, I've never seen them outside of their house.
Maybe they're practicing crop circles.
Maybe. I don't know. It could be. All right. On that note, I think we can call this an episode. Let's wrap it up. Robin, get us out of here.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Oh, dear God.
Thank you for listening to the Overseas Connection podcast.